Yeah, big week, last week of the non-conference schedule. I feel like we are playing fairly well, and this team has got a great mix of young and old players that are still gelling, and I think we have a lot of improvement we can still make, which is exciting, but we're also competing at a very high level. Just getting a little more consistent is key. So Wednesday at Kentucky, who, yes, a renovated gym. They're in the top 10. I'm guessing they'll stay in the top 10 this week. And then Nebraska on Sunday, the first ever regular season game on ABC. So I know y'all can watch it at home, but we need you in the stands and to make this a big deal so ABC continues to air volleyball matches.
Dani, I know these are two teams that were already at the Yum Center at the very beginning of the year. How much, I guess, do you have to take with a grain of salt what you saw then and to see that type of caliber team in person?
Yeah, the first games of the year are always kind of throwaway games, it seems like, because teams are really trying to figure themselves out. So we're not really scouting Nebraska or Kentucky based on those matches. But it is nice to see a little bit of the physicality in person. It's a little different than on film, so we're pretty familiar with both these teams. Just we play Kentucky every spring, and we've played Nebraska every other year, so a lot of our players are familiar with the other players.
Personally, what is this week like going into the school's biggest rival and, of course, your alma mater?
Yeah, it's an exciting week for sure. I know Kentucky's a huge match, and we've been lucky to win, I think, the last 2 or 3. So we want to keep that streak alive. And it feels like we haven't played in Memorial Coliseum in a long time, even though it was only 2 years ago. But Kentucky's always so tough at home. They're one of the best serve and pass teams in the country, and that puts them in any match. So it's going to be a dogfight. And then having Nebraska come back here for our last non-conference game is pretty special. And, besides it being my alma mater, they have high expectations on what a crowd should look like, what volleyball should look like, what kind of attention the sport should be given. And so I'm very excited to show that to them and their fans. And, I think we're at a great spot in those areas.
Dani, you mentioned early in the year and different things. What did you learn from your team so far? What have you learned from them? And do you are you always tweaking things, but is there any major things that you've seen?
I feel like I've learned a lot, too much to go through right now. Charity Looper has really stepped up this season, which we desperately needed her to, and that's been exciting to see. And then I've just seen our new players, as in Sofia Maldonado-Diaz and Nails Caballo, just really improving each and every match. So if we can get those 3 pieces firing on all cylinders, it takes a lot of pressure off some of our returners that have had to carry heavy loads, the last few years. And we're in a 6-2, which I get asked a lot if I still like it, and I do. It takes a little bit of growing pains, but I do believe that's our highest ceiling and what could give us the best chance to be back in the Yum Center in December.
Dani, do you guys learn more from a match like yesterday where you seemingly were in control and then got kind of blown out in a couple sets, then came back to win in 5?
Yeah, I think it's just good to experience that. I don't really know what we learned, but it's good to experience that type of momentum shift and then be able to come out in game 5 and take it back. That's very, very tough to do. And I thought this group showed a ton of maturity. We went back to our starting lineup, which, I was really questioning that decision. So it was good to see them just trust it and just say, look, we know player for player, we're better than this team. If we just perform at just a good level, we can take this. And I thought, again, a lot of maturity was shown, and we needed that. And it felt like last year when we started to lose momentum, we could not get it back. And so that was great for this team to experience that. And Creighton's a really, really good team. They're hoping they'll be here in December, too, and they have a great chance.
Dani, beyond the X's and O's, are there any things that you have taken from Nebraska in terms of marketing your program, growing your program? I mean, it's a statewide phenomenon up there, and you may not have the same opportunity here, but what have you learned from them that can translate?
I think taking advantage of even opportunities like this, where getting in front of the media as much as we can, our players getting out in the community as much as they can. And then honestly, it comes down to like winning big matches and putting a great product on the floor. And I feel like we've done that with a team that we might not win every game, but our players they play with a lot of energy. They play together. They play with a lot of love for the sport, and people want to watch that. And you have to be consistent. I think that's the biggest thing, is consistency is really key when you're building a fan base and a program that's going to continue to get great attention.
Question, this may sound a little stupid, but how much of your substitution is preordained and how much of it is something you decide during a match?
Well, this year, most of our subs, because we're in a 6-2, so you're a lot likelier to run out of subs. So we pretty much have a set rotation, and usually you only make a couple changes if you see an interesting matchup or you need a serving sub or to give somebody a break. But the system makes it a little bit tougher to make split decisions with subs because we will run out.
Dani, you talked about growing pains, but you have high expectations. You guys are highly ranked. You played a bunch of other teams that are highly ranked. How do you manage confidence levels if you're going through growing pains and it not be like, are we not good? Or are these issues we shouldn't be having? How do you manage that with them?
It's a great question. I feel like we do a great job of analyzing film and we have film with each player and as a team a lot, and just making sure that we're always showing them good things that they're doing and trying to repeat that and continuing to work on some of our strengths. And I think a lot of programs will just start working on weaknesses, and that can be really tough to do every single day, but we want to continue to make our strengths even stronger. So we work on those a lot as well. But a lot of it's leadership. We have a great senior team. They know they're good, a senior-led team, and they're managing that really well and understanding the balance of, like, we might not look great at all times, but they're confident that they're great players.
Now, Dani, could you talk about how Anna DeVere's playing this year and what she brings to the team?
Yeah, Anna has been, she's struggling a little bit offensively, but the rest of her game has been really impressive. She's carried a heavy load for us for 4 years, and it's kind of nice she doesn't have to do that offensively, and we just need her to contribute in any way she can. And I think she knows that she's going to work through this slump, and I thought on Sunday she took some swings that were really, really impressive. Now it's just maintaining that level throughout a whole match.
Obviously, you mentioned this the last week of the non-conference. Can you just speak to the ACC, though, and three in the top five, I think it is?
Yeah, the ACC has turned into, I think this year, you could say the best conference in the country, and it's kind of crazy. It felt like it's been a long journey and a lot of changes in the ACC, but it's really impressive. Stanford and Pitt ranked 1, 2. We're 4. You have SMU swept Nebraska a couple of weeks ago. Miami swept Texas. Florida State was co-champ. They have everybody back. I mean, those are just the teams on the top of my head. So really, really impressive conference, and it will be a dogfight to win it this year.